Hi, it's Rock. Welcome back to Viper Tactical Training. This is a short debrief from last weekend's workshops where we looked at Christmas markets. The debrief is just to give you some idea on what we looked at over the 2 days on the workshops in relation to the threat, the possible threat that's being faced. And we looked at 3 different things. We looked at doing reconnaissance, situational awareness, evacuations and dispersals and RV points. So before I go into the debrief and the notes, let's just have a quick recap from this month. So at the beginning of the month, the FCO put out a warning to all British travellers about a terrorist threat against Christmas markets in Germany and Belgium. Subsequently, a terrorist was arrested in Germany conducting hostile reconnaissance, planning to use a vehicle as a weapon to run people down while they were at the markets. Today, this news has come out of a foiled terrorist plot in New York City, where a jihadist was planning an attack using assault rifles and explosives against the Israeli consulate in New York. Again, that's another foiled attack. So, like I keep saying to people when we're doing training or we're on courses, especially when we're doing counter surveillance and surveillance, just because it looks like nothing is going on doesn't mean nothing is going on. So that's a little bit of the recap. Don't forget though, we've had armed police, and we still have armed police patrolling our markets. We've had markets cancelled for various reasons. So there is a threat towards the markets in the UK, even though the government hasn't said specifically what that threat is. So let's start with the debrief. We look first of all at doing a reconnaissance, and we'll look at doing a reconnaissance much the same way as a terrorist would do a hostile reconnaissance, looking at a target to see if it's a viable target to attack. So we're going to look at it in much the same way, but only of course for the protection of ourselves and the protection of our family and friends. We looked at it in 3 different ways: en route to the market, just as we're entering the market, while we're in the market, and then if we have to evacuate. So when we're looking at starting off doing the recce, we're going to look at how we're going to get into that area, into the general area. Are we going to go by vehicle? Are we going to go by public transport? Or are we going to walk? If we're looking at our vehicles, where are we going to park? Are we going to park too close or too far away? If we're too close, are we going to get blocked in? Especially if there's an attack, emergency vehicles are on the route, vehicles are going to get blocked, the roads are going to get blocked. Can we get out with our vehicles? What about if we're coming in by public transport, trains, buses? Have a look at the Taylor Swift concert that was in Wembley this year. Absolute massive congestion on the route into that concert. That was a prime target if I've ever seen one for crowded, congested, small, narrow walkways on the lead up to Wembley for the amount of people that were going there. So when you're doing your recce, if you're coming by train or bus, we'll look at the route into the venue itself. Then look at alternate routes. So I'm one for not following the crowd, and I always teach that let's go somewhere different, because if there's a busy place that's primed for an attack, the route's busy all the time, it's on at certain times of the day, we want to look for alternate routes. We looked at busy, crowded areas, alternate routes, and then we're looking at getting up into the specific area of the market itself. And just on that note, last weekend while we were doing these workshops, there was an acid attack at the Winter Wonderland Christmas market in Hyde Park in London. Now this was not a specific attack, it was 2 gangs who were fighting, and one of the gang members was sprayed with some sort of acid. When I come on to situational awareness in a minute, our situational awareness, if it's on, if our radar's on, would have picked up or should have picked up these people, these groups of people who are not doing everything else, and I'll come on to that in a little bit, who are not doing what everybody else is doing. So we've got 2 gangs there outside of the market itself. So our route up to that market, if we were situationally aware, we should be able to spot those 2 gangs. those two different groups of people, not doing everything else that all the other market goers are going to be doing. So that is the recce outside, or the route up until we get to the point of access into the market. A few things to consider there: parking, how we're going to get there, whether it's public transport or if we're walking in. And we went, and like this is just a debrief to give you some idea, we went into this in a heck of a lot more detail than I'm just going through here. We looked at what we do getting up to the site, and then actually getting onto site. Now, is the site like the Winter Wonderland in London, has a specific entrance and exit? So if it's got a dedicated exit, what's it got on that exit? Does it have searches by security staff? Does it have body searches, bag searches? Are there wanding for metal objects? Are there wanding maybe for, with that, ceramic objects these days as well? Do they have search arches like the airport arches? Are there police vehicles stationed outside? Are there paramedics or ambulances stationed outside? And with that, as we see in most locations these days, are there vehicle mitigation bollards outside as well? I'm going to come on to clusters later on, but these are what we're looking at when we're looking at a dedicated site entrance. The site might be enclosed, so if you're walking around the site doing your recce, does it have fences? Does it have barriers? Is it an open site? Can you just go onto site from any location, wherever, because it hasn't got a fence or a barrier? How easy is it to access that site? And this is where we're looking at, and it makes it a bit of a conundrum for citizens who aren't trained as a security professional, where we're looking at hard targets and soft targets. When we're looking at what I mentioned before about hostile reconnaissance, with the two cases that I said just before, this is where it can cause a bit of a conundrum for untrained people. If I've got a cluster, which means that I've got lots of visual issues that I can look at, so the ones I've just gone through before: police on site, armed police, are there sniffer dogs, are there arches, are they doing searches, are there vehicle mitigation bollards? That's lots of single clusters grouped together there, which should give me some idea of the threat against that market. If I go to a market in another town and there's only one or two, or there's no security in place, is that a safer market to go to? Or is it a safer market because it hasn't got that threat against it? The choice is yours where you're going to go to, but much like a terrorist is looking at this, is the market with a lot of clusters there, lots of security, difficult route into the market, difficult to get into the market, and maybe he wants to get away at the end. He doesn't want to become a martyr, but he needs to escape. Is it difficult for him to escape? Or is the market in the next town going to be easy to attack because it's got less security and it's a lot softer target? So we go into the market, we're inside the market. Like I've just said, what's in the market? Are there armed police? Are there security patrols? Are there dog sniffers? Searching bags as they're walking past people. How's the market set up? Does it look like it's just being thrown up ad hoc, stalls everywhere? Is it circular? Is it boxed? Is it in a grid formation? So again, when we're looking at this, and we're looking at when we come under our evacuation procedures and how we're going to evacuate or disperse from that site, how are we going to be affected by that? Where are people going to run to when panic sets in? What are we going to do? How easy it for us is to go north, south, east and west and at all the other points to where our RV is and our parked car is, or how we're just going to get out of the general area, on a good run. So how it's set up is really important, especially with the fencing and the barriers. Do you have in that area tented or hutted areas where you need to go into? Santa's Grotto, for instance, tented area, bars, restaurants. Is it just one access in, one access out? Are they busy areas? Are there busy queues? With that, it's cold nowadays at night. Where are all the heated areas. So if you go into a restaurant and we have the flames outside at tables, where are the gas bottles, where are the propane bottles, how are they stored, where are the spare bottles? We're looking at on-site flammable and explosive elements that can add to the confusion when an attack happens. So keep that in mind. You know, when you're sitting at these areas, when you're watching about, when you're looking around, are people have they got bags? Where are they? Making sure, and this is one of the big things, people leave bags lying about, and security officers should be picking these up, and the staff members from these the stalls, the restaurants, hopefully they've got their eye on the ball as well. But it's imperative that we know where, you know, these propane bottles are and anything else that's flammable, and where we are sitting if something does happen to go off there. Situational awareness. So first of all, we need a baseline. We need a baseline of what's going on this market. So when we're looking at the people there, you know, if I'm going to do a recce Saturday night, I'm going to go the previous Saturday night at the same time I'm going to go, and I'm going to look at the people there. What's their ages? What's their ethnicity, the gender, the sex? If I can see their religions, is there a lot of people, you know, wearing crucifixes, different religious badges? You know, what else can I see about the groups of people there? Are there lots of families there? Are there couples, groups, lots of single people there? So what are the people there? And then again, what are they doing in those locations? So that is going to give us a baseline of what people are doing, where they're going, what are the busy areas, how long do people queue up, how long do people sit there for? So I'm going to be there watching people. And within that, we looked at a lot of spatial awareness as well. I'm not going to touch too much on that just now, but spatial awareness is really important. If you looked at the 7 tube bombers, they did their recce's in the same clothes on the tube. They congregated at different times in the same place and then dispersed to each location where they were going to get on a tube. And they did that 4 or 5 times, and they came back to the same place, dispersed again. They were timing themselves towards their areas. So spatial awareness and seeing if anybody is doing the same things over and over again, part of our situational awareness. We've already talked about clusters. The more clusters we've got, the more likely it's looking like it's either a hard target because there's a terrorist threat there, or there is a specific threat, or there's no threat or very little threat, and there's very little clusters to point towards that as well. And then we looked at evacuations and dispersals and RV points. So if you're on your market, how are you going to get out if there is an attack? Whether that's an explosive attack or a marauding terrorist attack, where they're going around just shooting indiscriminately and everything else. How are you going to get out? After you've done your recce, what kit do you need to be able to get out of that? Is it fenced in? How are you going to break your way out? Smash your way out? What kit do you need with you? Do you need to cut your way out if it's just canvas? Can you climb over fences if it's Hedis fencing? Are there Hedis fences? If it is Hedis fencing, are they secured? Are they tied together with like plastic hooks, or are there metal locks? Can they be lifted out of the foot holsters that they stand in? How are you going to get out of those? What if it's boarding? Do you need to bash your way out, smash your way out? On your recce, it will give you some idea on maybe some kit to carry, with lawful kit, I'm on about there. So once you're out, where do you go next? Where do you go in relation to where your vehicle's parked? Like we've said, depending on where the attack is, you're going to have to go out in a different direction. And I said before, I never follow the crowd. So I always teach people, don't go out of fire exits, don't run with the crowd, because the more people there, the bigger the target. Go somewhere different to where everybody else is running. You're more likely to get injured in a panic when people are running all over the place as well. So if you're injured, you're not going to be as effective. If your family members are injured, you're going to have to carry them. If you need first aid kits, do you have first aid kits? Plan an evacuation for different points of an attack in different areas of the location where you're in. RVs. What about if you get separated from your family members? Where are you going to RV? What prominent points are around that market area that everybody can see, from a small child to a grandparent. How far away is that RV? How quickly can somebody get there if you get lost? How long are you going to wait? What about phone signals, phone calls? Systems get shut down if it's a big attack. Comms get disrupted and everything else. How long are you going to wait? What search procedures are you going to have in place? We've also looked at everyday carry. What kit do you need? That your recce should tell you what kit you need. I always carry a first aid kit. I always carry a smoke hood. I've been caught on too many fires, on trains, in hotels, in basements when I've been on site, in control rooms and things like that. So I always have a good EDC with me at all times. I hope I've given you some ideas of what to think of. And again, you can go as in-depth as you want on this, or just touch on basics. It's worthwhile doing something if you're going into these busy areas, especially these times. So I hope I've given you some idea of what we covered, and we covered it a lot more in depth than I've just gone through on this short debrief. So if you're liking these videos, please subscribe, hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Appreciate that as well. So please leave some comments below, or send me a DM me, whatever. Be great to hear from you. Be great to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much. Stay dangerous. Rock.